Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your bro, hope you're doing well, and in this video I'm going to show you all how we can modify HTML elements using JavaScript, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, welcome back everybody. In today's video I'm going to show you all how we can modify HTML elements using JavaScript. There's two popular ways of doing this. We can select an HTML tag using getElementbyID or querySelector. GetElementbyID is the older way of doing things. The newer, more powerful way is to use querySelector. Really, you can use either one, but I'm going to be sticking with querySelector. There's a few additional features. Now, before we modify some HTML elements, we'll need some HTML elements to work with. So let's head to our HTML document and add a few tags. Let's say we need an h1 header tag. So h1, I will give this tag a unique ID of my h1. And then let's display some text like hello world, and then close it. Let's add a couple paragraph tags. So these will be p tags. I will give this a class name of, what about my pp. As you can see, this is a very mature channel. Then let's add a sentence between these paragraph tags. This is sentence 1. Let's copy this line of text and paste it. The second set of paragraph tags will have the same class name, but we will change this is sentence 1 to sentence 2. And then let's create a button. So we need a pair of button tags. Button, I will give this button a unique ID of my button. And we'll display some text on the button like, click me. All right, so we should be good. So let's save, then head to our JavaScript file. So let's say we would like to change the text of our HTML document, some of these tags, when we click on this button. So we can easily do that, but first we need to select our button. So the way in which we can do that is to take our document dot querySelector and select our button. So we need the ID of this button, my button. And if we need to select an ID, we need hashtag, then the name of that ID, and then place it within quotes too. All right, so we are taking our button with an ID of my button dot onClick, and onClick is a property. OnClick equals some function. So when we click on our button, it's going to perform whatever code is within this function. Let's change the text of our h1 header tag. I'm going to create a constant h1 to store this element, and we are going to use document.querySelector, then pass in the ID of this tag. So that would be my h1. So within quotes, add a hashtag, then follow this with the ID name. Then we are going to take h1.inner text and set this equal to some new text like bye world. So now when I click on this button, after saving, it should update my text, bye world. Now what if we need this text maybe underlined? Well, we can easily do that using the createElement method of our document, but let's store this within a constant. I'll create a constant named underline, and this will be document.createElement, then list the name of the tag. So we need a U tag to underline. So we are going to take underline and set the inner text equal to bye world. Then we can get rid of this line. We will take h1 dot append, then pass in underline. So there's one more change that we're going to make. So let's save and click this button. So this will append the text to the end of the current text that is within our h1 header tag. So let's just clear that. h1.inner text, and an easy way to clear some text is just to set the inner text to an empty string. So now when I click this button, it will change the text to bye world, all underlined. Now let's change some of these paragraph tags. There's another variation in querySelector named querySelector all. We can select more than one element. So I'm going to create const p to hold some p tags. Const p equals document.querySelector all, and we can pass in a class name. So the class name that we need is myp. So then within quotes, add a dot, then the class name. So if you need to select an element by ID, you use a hashtag. If you need to select a class name, that would be dot, then the name of the class. So p is now a type of array. It's a node list of elements, but it behaves exactly like an array. So let's modify this first sentence, but we need to access it by an index. So that would be p at index 0, and I will change the inner text equal to, what about, whoa. All right, so when I click this button, it's going to change the first element within my array of p, which is this first paragraph tag, the first set of paragraph tags. Now, if I change this index to 1, that will modify the second sentence. Now, what if you need to change both sentences? There's a few ways in which you could do this, but one way that I like to use is to use a for each loop that is built into arrays. So p.for each, then we need our arguments, element. I will use the arrow function for simplicity. We will take our element.inner text and set this equal to some new text, like just the word whoa. So after saving, if I were to click on this button, then all elements with the class name of my p will have their inner text changed to whoa. So that's why both sentences changed this time. Now let's remove this button after clicking it. So let's get this element by maybe the tag name itself, button. So let's create const button equals document.querySelector, then pass in the tag name of button, and then put it within quotes. Then to remove this element, we would take our element button.remove method. So when I click this button, it will be removed from my document. Now here's the thing with querySelector. If we pass in an element name, the first element that has the same name will be selected. So what if we have multiple buttons? I'm just going to copy this set of button tags and then paste it maybe 2 times. Let's get rid of the IDs for buttons 2 and 3 and change some of the text as well. So let's change the first button to click me 1, then click me 2, and then click me 3. So we should now have 3 buttons. And when I click on this first button, it will remove the first instance of button. So one thing we can do if we need to remove all of these buttons for some reason, we can use querySelector all. We will select all elements that have the tag name of button, and I will store this within a node list of elements of buttons. Now to remove one of these buttons, I will list the index of buttons. So the first button would be index 0, so click me 1 is now gone. Let's change this to buttons at index of 1. Click me 2 is now missing. Then if I change this to buttons at index 2, click me 3 is gone. Now if I need to remove all of these buttons, I can use the for each method to do that, much like what we did with our paragraph tags. So I will take buttons.for each. Our arguments are just element, arrow function, element.remove. Then when I click on click me 1, that will remove all of the buttons here. Well everybody, that's how to modify HTML elements using JavaScript. If you would like a copy of all this code, as always, I will post this to the comment section down below. And well, yeah, that's how to modify HTML elements using JavaScript.